Okay, click on the little arrow next to the mute. I'm gonna change this. So microphone. Check on that as CMS system. It should be CMS system. Click on that. Hello? Hello? I think it's supposed to be on the top one. So go ahead and change it back.
For this one?
Mm-hmm.
5:35 and you just come walking in just the right time.
Wow, what timing?
It is 5:35. If you'd like to join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so calling the meeting to order. Proclamations, we have none. Public comments, petitions, memorials, looks like we don't have any of those either. Moves us on to the consent agenda. Becky, do you have anything with that?
Just that we amended the agenda, to add payment for, insurance for this building.
You might like to have insurance with the building, just in case. I will entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. Lynette?
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
All opposed?
Brian, you can hear us, can't you?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, then moving on to old business. The first, do we need to discuss or is it just automatically
I think
table?
we can just, do we table it or?
Sorry, at the last meeting, we tabled an issue regarding Mr. Unruh, and I apologize. I sent out an email today with kind of my thoughts on it. So ultimately, I think the commission could make it, there's a two-part kind of request about a voucher for some application of Lime. What I would like to do is for the city commission to take no action, let Ms. Berger and I kind of resolve that with Mr. Unruh if we could. The second, as far as capital improvements on the property, I know it's not in the budget. That's not necessarily a legal issue, but I think the commission could, make a decision on that today so we can inform Mr. Unruh what this commission's thoughts are on that. And then as far as the application of the Lime, like I said, I would ask that the commission take no action and let Ms. Berger and I bring something back to you at a later date. So it's on here because we tabled it from last time. Otherwise, we wouldn't probably have anything today. So.
I know it in my opinion, just based on the lease agreement, that it's not on the city to make any of them improvements. So I don't know that we need to. In my opinion, I don't see that that's on us to make the improvements that was discussed. I don't know what the rest of you think.
I don't know how significant that drain tile is. I'm not a farmer. I don't know what the pros and cons of that are. So I did notice in the agreement on section 16, which is the last page, that it says any modifications of this lease agreement shall be binding only if evidenced in a writing signed by each party or an authorized representative of each party. And I don't believe that was done as far as Mr. Unruh given verbal approval to purchase additional lime. That's just my observation.
I understand. And I think, like I said, that's a factor we're gonna have to work with, and we'd bring something back on
Yeah.
that, so.
But for now, do we need a motion to deny the 1750 improvement request?
I think you only need a motion to do it if you want to do it, because it's not budgeted for, so it would be a out of budget kind of item. I'm sure
Okay.
Ms. Berger would like a motion if you're going to do it.
I don't believe there's any interest. Brian, do you have an opinion on this?
No, I don't think we should help at all. It's not a share crop. And as far as conservation, I think that's kind of on them too as well. I do think that we should consider having some type of account for this farm though, and make sure that we're using some of the money for some items like this, and maybe can be negotiated later to make sure that our farm's staying up in good running order and everything. But at this point, I feel that we should just keep moving on.
So then do you need the motion to table the rest of it though? Just leave
I
it,
don't want to.
let it go.
I would like not to table it if we could. Just take no action. Go
Okay.
From here.
Then we'll just take no action. Okay, moving on to new business, appointment to the Land Bank Board of Trustees. Becky, would you like to?
Yeah, the Land Bank Board of Trustees. I believe someone from the board reached out to Laura Collison and asked if she would be interested in serving on the board, and she was very interested. And so they would like to have her on the board to fill the vacant spot.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Laura Tolson to serve a 3-year term on the Land Bank Board of Trustees to expire December 31st, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Laura Tollefson. Any further discussion? If not, Lynette, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed. Okay, item 2, under new business, Kansas Rural Water Association voting delegates.
With our KRWA membership, we get one vote on their at their annual meeting, which is in March, and the commission has to appoint who they want to be the delegate. Dominic is going, and so is Ryan. So we wanted to appoint Dominic as the delegate and Ryan as the alternate.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Dominic Greer as the KRWA voting delegate and Ryan Smith as the alternate delegate.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Dominic Greer as the voting delegate. Any further discussion?
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed 5-0. Item 3, the Clay Target Team Airport Use Agreement.
So I guess annually, the commission would approve a agreement with the Clay Target team they utilize the airport, they shoot out there for practice. And so we changed that to a 5-year agreement, which is essentially the only thing that was changed in the agreement from the previous year, so they don't have to come back every year. And then I also spoke with Dan Lears, who he was handling the agreement. And they are wanting, I guess they have to go to Falls City, Nebraska to qualify their shooting. I don't know anything about clay target shooting, but they have to go to Falls City to do their actual qualifying shooting because we don't have a facility here, and they're very interested in trying to get something set up here. And so he had talked about that. It wouldn't be this season, but just in the future, there may be a request coming from them to utilize either airport property or other city property to set up their target shooting stuff. So I just completely lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. This cold is like killing me. So yeah, I guess that's probably everything.
I make a motion that we approve a 5-year agreement with the state high school clay target league USD 415 team.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 5-year agreement with the State High School Clay Target League. Any further discussion? I just always like to see the city and the schools working together. I
Yeah.
think that's a good thing. So there's no further discussion. Lynette?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed 5-0. Item 4, the water tower maintenance contract. Brad, you're up.
So as you remember, on September 12th, I had come before you and we had talked about canceling our current water tower maintenance contract with the idea that we were going to perhaps save some money. And what I found out was that was not going to be the case in this situation. We are too close to painting our towers currently to actually save money. Some of the prices some of the numbers that they were giving me were twice as much as what we're paying now. And so in discussion with the people that we canceled from, Veolia is their name. They had a 20%, their inflation had gone up 20%, but they agreed just to let us back into our contract at the previous rates that we had already negotiated, what we were already paying. And I think that that's going to be the best option for us now. If we ever decide to do this in the future, we need to, or I need to I know more about it now than I did, that's for sure. We just need to do it right after we paint the towers, and then we can get a more, a fair bid on that. But right now, I think our best option would just be to re-enter it back into our contract at the previous negotiated price of $54,616 for this current year.
Any other questions?
Brad, is that not to exceed that amount?
Yes.
Well, I would like to make a motion to approve the 10-year contract with Veolia.
I would add that there's going to be a 5%. They will
Yeah.
add 5% per year to that amount, so it will go up yearly.
Yeah, okay. For water tower maintenance with a 2023 cost of $54,616 and the 5% annual increase yearly.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 5-year agreement, or not 5-year, sorry, I was on the one before. We're gonna approve trap shooting again. To approve a 10-year contract with Veolia. Is there any other discussion? If not, Lynette?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed 5-0. You get the next one too, Brad, the lead and copper regulatory rule.
Okay, so this one is going to be a little bit longer from me. The overview of this is the EPA proposed a rule in 2021 to revise the lead and copper rule. And basically what happened was after Flint, Michigan happened, there was a lot of reaction to that. And so they proposed this rule as a kind of a way to fix that in their mind. And so some of the major rule changes that we're going to have to be doing in the past, they allowed us to have a map where we kind of just circled where the lead lines were in town. But currently what they want us to do is do a lead line inventory where we actually have to verify every single line, every single service line in the town and put it in a database and submit that to KDHE by October 16, 2024. And one of the main things that I need to stress here is that the more accurate that we can be in this inventory, the better off that we'll be in the future. And the reason I say that is because if you don't know what's in the ground, you can put down it's unknown. And at that point, they'll just assume that it's lead. And so what we're going to be faced up against, so it's not just going to be our lead lines that need to be inventoried. It's also going to be the customers' lines that need to be inventoried as well. And a way that cities have been doing this is they've been sending out surveys. And what customers can do, they can look in their basements to see what's coming in or the crawl space. And we also need to know what the interior plumbing is. Because if it's galvanized line, if it was ever downstream of lead, they'll consider that lead at that point as well. And I guess the main point of all this is that the city is going to be responsible from the water main to the last tap in the house. And so that also includes the interior plumbing, the customer service line, and our service line as well. And so what this, and that brings me up to my next point, which is a lead service line replacement. And so in order for us to get credit for replacing a lead line, it's not going to be enough for us just to say, okay, well, we've done our part. In order for us to get credit for replacing a lead service line, it's going to have to be a total replacement of the city, the customer, any interior plumbing that they might have to do. Okay. And so there's still some things that are unknown about what the final rule is going to look like on that. There's been some talk of, the city needs to have a funding vehicle for customers to help them fund some of this, but I haven't heard directly what that is going to be yet. And so there's still some questions as far as how that goes. And that'll be for low income people. And there's really no guidance as to what's considered to be low income or where that cutoff is. And so there, like I said, there's still going to need to be some guidance in the final rule when it does come out when it does go into effect on October 16, 2024. And another thing that we're going to have to look out for that's going to be more on the code enforcement side that we're going to have to work with them closely on is if anybody gets any permits to replace their line and it was galvanized, something like that, then we're required to replace our service line within 45 days. And if we don't, we have to notify KDHE. And so we're really going to have to pay attention to what people are doing in town, or else we could end up getting in trouble for that as well. Testing, before we've been able to get by with taking what's called a representative sample. So like say at my house, I have, plastic lines from the water main all the way through my house. Well, that's no longer going to be acceptable. We have to take all of our testing from what they call tier 1 sites, and it has to be lines that have verified lead services. And so what I found, I've gone back and I went back to 2005 and I averaged out what our 90th percentile. So we usually take 10 samples. And so they'll take the second highest sample. So it's the 9th sample. And they'll consider that your 90th percentile. And I averaged it out and we're right at 11.6 parts per billion, which is underneath the current action level. However, there's also talk of them lowering that action level from 15 parts per billion to 10 parts per billion, which at that point would also mean that would kick us into what KDHE would call a mandatory lead line replacement, which would be 3 to 6% is what they're telling us, but KDHE is going to set that final number. And so they would require us to replace whatever number they come up with of a percentage of our lead service lines per year until we're back underneath that number. My fear is, and also we would have to do a corrosion control study along with corrosion control treatment. And usually that's like polyphosphates or orthophosphates. And what those are, it creates a barrier. It coats the interior of the line and it prevents that lead from leaching into the water supply. And so all this is going to come with a cost. And another thing that goes along with the lead line replacement is we're also going to be responsible for providing point of use treatment, either a pitcher filter or a water filter that can kind of like screw onto a faucet or something like that for 6 months after we replace a lead line. And the city will be responsible to provide that for the customer.
Brad, they will or they will not.
Well, the city will be responsible for the cost of that completely. And I've asked for guidance from KDHE. I emailed them last week to find out what a approved device is. They're not quite sure yet what that approved device is yet. And so I'm waiting for guidance from them. They said they would send that out as soon as they know. The funding that's available for this, out of the infrastructure bill, 32, there's quite a bit of money. I can't remember how much money it was, but Kansas got $32 million from the infrastructure bill that was passed. I think it was over $1 trillion infrastructure bill that passed Congress last year, I believe. And Kansas got 32 million, but from the class that we took, it looks like a lot of that money is going to go to independent contractors that are going to take care of helping small towns do the lead line inventories. And so it's going to eat up a lot of that money. It's going to make that money, a lot of that money is not going to be available for us for replacement, things like that. There's various loans that we can do, but all those are going to add to our current debt. But there's a lot of other funding that I need to look at first. There's still a lot of unknowns on the funding side of this. And so there's a lot of research that still needs to be done on how we're going to be able to fund this. But I guess the main thing that we need to do right now is focus on our lead line inventory. We're going to need the public's involvement in this. We're going to need a lot of help from the public to make sure this is as accurate as possible. Because more accurate that we can be, if we can get down to where we can say, well, we have 300 lead lines as opposed to 1,600, that percentage becomes something that I think that we can handle as far as financially and manpower wise, if we have to replace lead lines, which in my opinion is going to be likely.
So we're going to be asking homeowners to be able to tell you what.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, there are some homeowners, not saying that'd be me or anything, that would have no clue. So there's going to be a lot of education that's going to be.
There's going to have to be a lot of education that we need to get out to the public. There's going to be we're going to have to work with the public closely to get this done as accurately as possible. And a lot of education, just like I said, a lot of help is going to be needed from, I believe, city staff as well, as long as the customer wants it. There is something that they said that we have to make 2 good faith efforts to find out what their lines are. If they don't want to tell us, they don't have to tell us. But the problem is then it becomes an unknown, and like I said, KDHE is just going to automatically assume it's lead at that point.
So this lead line inventory, what does it take to confirm that a service line is lead? I mean, can you look at a manhole and look in the house, and if it looks like lead on both ends, that's good enough? Or
What we've been doing is, as far as our side goes, we've been going through all of our old records. Our Rick Kodak, our previous supervisor, for years and years and years made drawings. Every time they dug something up, they would do drawings. And so we've been going through the drawings and verifying what we have in the ground, because we were able to tell at that point. And like say, when we went through Miami Street, I know that all of our lines are, they're plastic lines now. And there's ways that we can, I can get with previous staff, and they can tell me, well, this area was developed in, like, say, the 1970s. We know it's not lead. This is a material they used. And so we've been getting into plans, records, things like that. I haven't met with them yet, but I plan to.
okay,
And all those are going to be acceptable ways for KDHE to say, okay, well, this is how we verified it. And with customers, it is going to be what's coming through your wall. What you see inside of your house is how we're going to be able to verify that. But we're going to be taking their word for it, what they have. So it's just kind of be how we verify it.
very expensive.
And you have so much time to be able to do this.
Yeah.
This is a lot.
It's a lot, but it's also, the database can be updated as we go. And so we need to get it as accurate as we can by 2024, but we can still get it more accurate as years go on. We can update it yearly, and any time that we replace line, we need to update it. Anytime that we find out any other information, we need to update it. But the main way that, on, like, say, on our unknowns, one of my plans, I mean, I have some ideas. The best way to do it would be to just hydro excavate down and actually physically verify. I can see what that service line is, and then we would know for sure. And so that's kind of one of my ideas. There's some other things that we can look at there as well, but I think that's probably the least invasive to the homeowner, to the properties and things like that. But that would take some upgrades in equipment and or renting it anyway. But there's nothing's been decided there yet on what the best way to do that. I'm just kind of, that's only one of the ideas that's out there right now anyway.
Well, I appreciate that you're on top of it as much as you can. It's always
Yeah.
frustrating when these mandates start coming down, but they're just not all the answers we need yet. So,
Yes.
you
Is there any other questions?
okay.
Sounds
No.
like we need a hydro excavator and a horizontal boring machine.
At some point, yes, maybe.
Put that in your budget next year, right?
Yeah. All right, well, if there's no other questions, thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, the next item would be reports from staff.
So we've got the January accounts payable report, January municipal judges report, January fire department report, January financials, which bank rec, treasurer's report, and budget report. And then another item is Kansas Gas Service is going to be doing a rather extensive project downtown between Oregon and Delaware, the alley between Oregon and Delaware. And it's going to be from First Street to 9th Street. And apparently there is quite a bit of activity in that alley. So people are going to be very inconvenienced. But they have to obviously do the work that they need to do. So we are going to try and figure out a way to get information out to folks ahead of it. That their plan, they said they would be starting probably mid-March. I'm guessing it's going to be closer to April. So just a heads up on that. And when I met with them, I also discussed our Kansas Gas Service franchise agreement. Are the percent that we are at for gas is low compared to other communities for our franchise fee. Most communities are at 5 or 6 and we're at 4. It's also true with our electric franchise. We're at 3, I think, with our electric, and most communities are at least 5. So just a heads up that that's something that we probably want to look at. We have a reopener clause in our agreement, but it wouldn't be until next January. So, and then we have been discussing Megan, who does all of our marketing and stuff and social media. We've been talking about doing a logo contest. So I'm sure you guys all know what the logo looks like, but we didn't even have an electronic copy of it until I asked for one from Lynette a couple weeks ago. And so we thought maybe we could do like with kids or just anyone could submit, submit an idea or drawing of the logo. And then we would, select a winner, have some maybe chamber gift certificates or something for the winner. So as long as none of you have a problem with that, I would like to go ahead and do that.
Well, we've got some artistic people in town, so
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. Last thing is we switched over to Office 365 and our emails, I think, are not all getting through. So I just wanted you all to know that you maybe are getting emails to your commissioner email address that are not getting them. I found out the email that Andy sent out today I never got that.
I didn't either.
You didn't. So yeah, we're having some email issues right now. But we'll change over. So hopefully that doesn't last too much longer. And then, of course, I mentioned at the last meeting that department heads are no longer going to be required to come to the first meeting. But everyone is expected to come to the next meeting, the 27th meeting, because we're going to have that housing workshop. So Patrick didn't know that because he doesn't come to our staff meetings. So he's here tonight.
You just wanted to be here. I could tell.
He likes us.
Keeping a pulse on the city.
So I think that's everything I had.
Okay. Did you want to say anything as long as you're here, if you wanted to?
You don't have anything. Up with a whole bunch of stuff, I can tell you.
I think we're good for now, so. Informational items, I think we've taken care of that, so on to the governing body comments. I have a couple. First of all, Lynette, thank you for the work that you're doing on giving us our new agendas. How you can click on the links and it takes you to right where, well, thank whoever I need to thank. I mean, that is kind of nice to be able to just get right to it instead of scrolling. So that's kind of nice. And then my positive for this meeting, I just wanted to mention that tomorrow at the Hiawatha basketball game, we are at the 50th anniversary of girls basketball in Hiawatha from 1973 to it would be 2023. Jaspers have been coaches, I think, for 9 years. And so Stacy's been accumulating all kinds of information. I think she has at least 45 alumni coming in tomorrow that will be recognized at halftime. So if you want to see Stacy cry, that'd probably be kind of a good way to be there, because she's going to have a speech and everything. There's going to be a reception in the library that's going to have pictures and yearbooks and whatever other stuff that Stacy could find. But it's just kind of neat that we're having people coming back. I don't know how far back the year is that, how close we are to 73 if anybody's coming from there, but I just think it's a pretty neat thing to recognize, it's a historical thing, 50 years of girls basketball. So all that's going to be tomorrow at the home game. Couldn't tell you who we're playing, but it's going to be tomorrow. So I think that's all I have. So Commissioner Hull.
I don't have anything. My positive is that Chiefs won. And this is my 3rd Chiefs outfit today. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Middendorf,
I don't have anything this evening.
Commissioner Shepherd.
Yeah, I have a kind of a bittersweet Schutz Tool and Die is going to be John Schutz is going to be retiring And I think several of the employees are going to be retiring with them. So they're going to be closing up shop. But I just wanted to say thank you to John Schutz and family for having a great business in Hiawatha for, I think it's been almost 50 years. So I wish him a happy retirement and thank you for having a great business in town for almost 50 years.
Gosh, yes.
Thank you for that, Brian. Commissioner Wilkie.
I don't have anything this evening, other than I'm glad you brought up with the thing with the girls' basketball. Of course, during those years, we did have back-to-back state championships,
79 to 80, would that have been
78, 79.
78, 79?
When I was in high school. And then we did football in 80.
Okay, I knew there was an 80 in there. I couldn't remember where.
So, but yeah, it's gonna be good to see a lot of the people back for that. So I'm glad they're doing it.
Okay, moving on to executive session. Going into executive session for attorney-client privilege. Motion that the city commission recess into executive session in the conference room for, how long do you need? 10 minutes. For 10 minutes to discuss matters of potential litigation. The justification for closing the meeting is to consult with the city attorney to discuss matters privileged under the attorney-client relationship. The open meeting will resume at 6:17 in the commission chambers and to include commission administrator and city attorney.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to do all of that. Any other discussion? If not, Lynette?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
It's a $50,000 initial fine for a cage. And you may well be inexact. All you have to say is I don't know. Yeah, and I could say, I don't know, 1,600 times right now, and it would be so. But it would be negative. But it would be impact.
This is the wrong chair. It's. You know what? Just be quiet. At 6:17, I'm making the motion that the city commission is called back into an open meeting. The commission took no binding action during executive session.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. Lynette?
All in favor?
I,
All opposed?
Okay, motion passed 5-0. Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Well, second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. Lynette?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed, sorry. I was already shut down. Motion passed 5-0.
Oh.
Andy, did you see? I know, it's so cold. Did you get my email? So apparently we paid to requalify.
I really think
16.
If it's